Hi everyone, Emily Ambrose here. I am practicing making videos for my classes this year, and I figured this would be a great time to practice one and put together my presentation for our class in this format. So I hope you don't mind. My lesson was for my 7th grade geography class. Initially, I thought I was going to do it for my 8th grade class with my other ELL student, but we just got another ELL student who's a 7th grader from Sierra Leone, and he started with us about a month ago. So I figured I would mix it up and see what we could do for him. So that's why I chose my 7th grade class. Our objective was to describe how population and environment can affect a place, and we focused on Nigeria in particular because we are studying Africa as our bigger unit right now. And Nigeria is actually perfect for this because it has tons of different ethnic groups, and because of that, the different populations often come into conflict, so we can talk about how those conflicts affect the country and the continent itself. So that's my, side effects of dealing with Screencast-O-Matic here. These are my content objectives. This is my language objective for the whole crew. Identify challenges facing Nigeria by creating main ideas and completing a graphic organizer. But for my ELL student who is at a level 1 for reading, writing, and listening, he's actually at a 4 for speaking. But for level 1 for him, my EA and I decided that it would be best to stick with trying to identify challenges by completing sentence starters and sentence frames and orally explain to us problems that arise when people have different opinions within kind of a small area. Just some of the tier words for you. We focused particularly on the word drought for him. And quick rundown, we started with a warm-up, and this was a review of the night's homework from before. And what that was a setup of the background of the country, how it was a colony of Britain, and after Britain left, the ethnic groups fought for power. So that's where the warm-up comes into play, and then we went into some partner reading about the physical environments of the 3 different regions, Western, Northern, and Eastern Nigeria, and then ended with students doing individual reading that would set them up for their homework. And I tried to use a real-world scenario for them for the warm-up. I also used partner reading and sentence frames to set up the reading section, and then I had sentence frames for the writing part. So this is how it was supposed to go down, all right? So to access their background knowledge and get a feeling for how much conflict can come into place when people have different ideas, I set them up by what their favorite class subject was. So I said, write down your favorite class subject, and then I posted signs around the room, and they had to go to, say, art or science or social studies. And then they discussed, what are some things that we like about our subject, what do we have in common, and they shared that. And then I had them turn to another group that liked a different subject and say, well, what might you dislike about that class? And they came up with things like, well, we might not like the PE kids because they might smell. Or we might not like the art kids because we don't get what their message is. So that was actually really productive in and of itself. But unfortunately, what really happened is that because you can never assume, as I'm learning, the cultural context of our ELL kids, he's still really getting used to what it means to work and share within a group. So as kids were up and talking, he was in the back of the group bouncing around the yoga balls that we use for kids to sit on. So luckily my EA swooped in and was able to orally discuss this with him one-to-one, but if she were not there, this would not, I don't know how well this would have worked. So I was really hoping to be able to access his background knowledge and get him engaged in this real life scenario, but unfortunately, again, we have to make sure that he is learning how to be a student first and foremost in our classes and what that looks like. So that was not the best way to start class, but things did improve. This was the homework that they had the night before, so I set up the sentence frames for him in this way. This was a huge success. He was able to put all of the words in 100% accurate. But then what I found was when I did the next section, without the word bank, he left it completely blank. And I'm assuming that's because he either it was too hard and he gave up, or I don't think he forgot about it, but this was left blank. So that's a good indication to me of where his reading level is. Then we went on to the reading part, the partner reading, which was fantastic. I'm really, really glad I did it because he was able to really strut his stuff and read aloud. He's a wonderful reader, to the point where he wanted to actually read more, and his classmates had to remind him that, oh wait, no, it's my turn to read now. So I was relieved to see that. So I felt really glad. I'm glad we did that, and I'll be using that strategy again with him. But then we got to the writing part, and this is what I struggled with the most when I was actually putting this lesson together, is because we are really just starting to get to know him and what he's capable of. This is what we used for the writing section. Now, this is something that the students have been developing throughout the unit as we go, and these I actually pulled from his own notebook. This is from a unit we had done earlier about women in Africa starting small businesses. So these are his own words. And then I added this part. And again, here, they were reading about the physical environment of the region in Nigeria that they were given. And I gave him northern Nigeria. So I wanted to access his previous knowledge by asking him about where he lived before. Again, I was hoping he would access his previous knowledge. A hard thing about living in Sierra Leone was blank, but he didn't do it, unfortunately. Even though, I told him ahead of time, before you read the section, try this. It'll help you, connect with what you're reading. He skipped it completely, and just wanted to jump right into the reading. He read it once, and I kind of stood nearby, and he was really looking at the notes, so I came back, and he still was stuck. And after I read it aloud to him, and we defined drought together, this is what he was able to come up with right here. So I was pretty satisfied with that. But I'm not sure if he would have been what he would have been able to come up with if I weren't there to really go through it with him step by step. Then I let him try the next one on his own. The powerful wind Harmattan blows south and is a problem because, and he wrote down that it blows between October and March, so clearly the comprehension, I'm not sure if that's a comprehension issue or if it's just, again, it's the writing. And then we tried, because my EA and I just came up with these frames together. The high flat plains of northern Nigeria are difficult to farm because it's hard to farm there, is what he wrote. So, unfortunately, he clearly did not meet the language objectives of this activity, which is telling me, again, I'm just getting to know him and what he can accomplish, and I think writing is going to be the biggest focus for our team for him, as well as developing his tier 1 and tier 2 words and really breaking down those tier 3 words, or even just kind of, instead of saying ethnic diversity, we'll start it with ethnic differences for him. But it was encouraging because for his exit ticket, he was able to explain to me that a problem for northern Nigeria was that there's little water there in bullet format and orally with me. So I was happy and pleased that he met the content objective, but He did not meet the language goal for this lesson, so I need to really come back and reflect on that, and hopefully that's where you guys come in.